Guys, I am in Lesotho. This is one of the most unusual countries in Africa and the entire world. It is the only country in the world that is entirely located above 1,000 meters above sea level. Lesotho has only one neighbor. The country is completely surrounded by South Africa, and they live in symbiosis. Lesotho buys food, fuel, and manufactured goods from South Africa and sells water. Yes, fresh water is a vital export resource for Lesotho. It is home to one of Africa's largest dams, Katse Dam, which supplies water to arid South Africa. For this, Lesotho receives about $200 million a year. At the same time, the residents of Lesotho themselves often drink water from dirty and dangerous streams, reservoirs, and puddles. And many people have no access to clean water at all. It is quite a paradox. For a major exporter of drinking water, access to drinking water is a big problem. At least, the locals have been complaining about this for many years. But is it really that bad? Someone is already tired, but someone can still dance. Look at this fashionable dude wearing a fancy hat. Do you have internet? Do you know what TikTok is? Do you have phones?
No!
You made it yourself? At the same time, Lesotho is a strikingly beautiful country with a rich culture and history, which I will try to show you today. Okay, this is the main street of the capital, and basically the main street of the country. A lot of taxis, mostly taxis. As you can see, these are old, small Japanese cars that were probably scrapped somewhere. They are all Hondas, right? Probably 80% of the taxis are Hondas. There are also Nissans and some Mazdas, but this one is the most common. What model is this? Honda Fit? Luckily, I know nothing about cars. And here is a Nissan Micra. All the people you see are photographers. Yes, they earn a living trying to shoot someone here. And just a few kilometers down this road will be the border. And those hills visible on the horizon are already South Africa. A big problem in Lesotho is that people, especially young people, are leaving. Every 12th resident lives outside the country, mostly moving to South Africa. They go to work and study because there are much more opportunities there. And as you can understand, the most talented, smart, and enterprising people are leaving. So the question is, who will put things in order here? Who will lift all of this up? Street photographers are everywhere. These guys are everywhere.
Hi. This is your photo.
Great, cool, but unfortunately, I don't have money to pay you.
Where are you from?
From Russia. I am from Russia.
And how much does it cost? How much does it cost to go to Russia?
How much does what cost?
Transport.
Transport? Which one?
Well, if we go, you don't have a car, do you? If we go from Lesotho to Russia, we can't use cars.
You mean, how much does it cost to go from here to Russia?
Yes.
Well, probably $1,000. There is a whole army of young photographers on the streets of Maseru. They stand in markets near supermarkets on the central streets. One shot is 5 rands, or about 30 cents. They take photos and send them via WhatsApp. Youth unemployment in Lesotho is about 33%. Those who haven't left for South Africa get by as best as they can. A secondhand camera or a smartphone with good optics can be bought for a couple of $100s. And there are always customers on the street. How much does one photo cost?
5 rands each. But if you want a video, it will be very expensive.
And why are you standing here? This isn't the most beautiful background.
There are a lot of people here. That's why we are here.
Ah, there are a lot of people here.
Yes, so we are here too.
And how much can you earn in a day?
Sometimes 250. It varies.
Oh, so you have a lot of clients, right?
Yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 23, and I'm 25.
Here's $1. What can we do for $1?
A photo?
Can you send it to me?
Yes, via WhatsApp.
By the way, check out my photo shoot for 15 rands, or about $1. We squeezed everything we could out of this shooting location. Well, share in the comments whether it was worth the money. So this is the most decent central part of the capital of Lesotho. You can see that overall, there is nothing remarkable here. Maseru, the name of the capital of the state of Lesotho, translates from the Sesotho language as red sandstones, after the color of the local stone from which the first buildings were constructed. The city was founded by the British in 1869 as a police camp. And until independence, it remained tiny, just 20 square kilometers. The colonizers did not develop the city because Basotho land was considered just a buffer zone. The main street, Kingsway, was just a regular dirt road until 1947. It was paved for the visit of the British royal family. And for almost 20 years, until 1966, it remained the only paved road in the entire country.
In South Africa, where racial contradictions are particularly acute, such scenes and the friendly attitude of the king towards the colored population caused a great resonance.
Kingsway is literally the Road of Kings. It connects the airport with the royal palace. After gaining independence in 1966, the city grew 7 times. But in 1998, a disaster struck. Following disputed elections, riots broke out. South Africa sent in troops, and most of downtown Maseru was burned down. The damage caused amounted to about $350 million. Since then, the city has been rebuilt. Shopping malls and new offices have appeared. Honestly, there isn't a single beautiful modern building in the country, and there are no decent modern hotels, let alone chain ones. People live very poorly. Tourism is not very developed here, although in my opinion, the country deserves attention, friends. Therefore, if you are traveling around South Africa, be sure to come to Lesotho. Support these kind, hospitable, and very stylish people. It's a cool country. Often, to understand how a city lives, you need to come to the market. This is where real life is visible. The prices, the people, what they eat, what they buy, and where it all comes from. Let's check out the market. Well, people aren't exactly rushing to start trading. They are clearing out the trash. Right away, they are selling barrels because barrels are in high demand for collecting water. There are literally entire rows of these barrels. Okay, and over here, old electronics are being sold, and it's unclear why anyone would buy them. Apparently, if you have spare time, you can desolder something there, take out some parts, and then sell them somewhere. Although here is a guy who seems to be actually crafting something out of this. It's amazing how you can assemble anything from all this stuff. Everyone is doing something. Some are taking old electronics apart, others are repairing old shoes. And what's interesting is that the local men all wear headwear. Finding someone without a hat is practically impossible. It will be either some kind of bucket hat or something else. When it's hot and you don't have a lightweight hat, but only a woolen one, they roll it into a sort of pancake and just put it on top of their head. And that's it. And when it gets cold in the evening, it unrolls and keeps them warm. At the market in Maseru, they sell traditional clubs called molamu. Some are simple, made of polished wood. Others are decorated with beads and colored ribbons. This is not just a stick. For the Basotho people, the molamu is a symbol of manhood. In the mountains, it helps to climb steep trails. And in case of danger, it can become a means of defense. Often walk with the molamu from an early age. After the initiation ritual, a young man traditionally returns home with the club. And for many, it remains an important, lifelong possession. With the molamu, he masters the martial art of ho-kala. The hand with the shielding stick is wrapped in a blanket to protect the fingers, while the other stick is used to deliver blows. Ho-kala is not just a fight, but a way to develop agility, strength, and endurance. Like fencing or kickboxing in other cultures. Over here, the food section slowly begins. They are cooking chicken. Someone is already tired, but someone can still dance. Of course, a wildly fashionable dude wearing a hat. Okay, let's check the prices for food. Bananas are 3, onions and tomatoes are 10. They're in these packages, I don't know what the weight is there. Half a head of cabbage is 10, lemons are 10 apiece, avocados are 20 for a bag containing a few sad-looking avocados. Lettuce is 20, peppers are 12 apiece, grapes are 25 for a small package like this. Carrots are 5. In general, speaking of vegetables, everything is quite standard. There is nothing exotic. And 75% of absolutely all food products in Lesotho are imported from South Africa. They do not provide for themselves. Prices are quite high. They are about the same as in Johannesburg, despite the fact that wages here are 3 to 4 times lower. Why does this happen? Mountains occupy 59% of Lesotho's territory. Depleted soil, cold temperatures, and a short agricultural season. It's like the high-altitude regions of Peru or Bolivia. All life here revolves around livestock, and gardens and fields exist only in the valleys between the mountains. The summer is short and rainy, and in winter, everything comes to a standstill and dries up from the cold. Look, a traditional medicine. Here you can buy all kinds of roots, dried leaves, and some kind of dried bird. I'm not sure if this actually helps, but it probably helps somehow. And right next to it is used clothing. And right here is a luxurious beauty salon where you can get yourself a top-notch, trendy haircut. In fact, there are truly a lot of these beauty salons here, one after another. I don't know how they differ. Apparently, people go to their favorite stylist and get themselves cleaned up early in the morning. And right over here, they are making tables. How much does this table cost?
500.
500. $30 for a table seems a bit expensive to me. Well, or maybe they just gave me that price. I think locals can bargain it down cheaper. At the market in Maseru, furniture is made right under the open sky. Craftsmen with tri-squares and hand planes assemble tables and chairs right in front of the buyers. At the same time, there are very few forests in Lesotho. They occupy only 1.5% of the territory. Consists of mountains, shrubs, grass, and rocks. There is almost no local furniture wood. And most of the lumber, boards, and plywood for construction and furniture come from South Africa. Even a cottage craftsman at the market works with imported raw materials.
Do you speak English? What are you filming?
A video.
For what?
For YouTube.
For YouTube? And what is the video about?
About Lesotho.
About Lesotho? Are you exploring the country?
Yes, it's a very good country. There are good people here. A very beautiful country.
That's for sure. Where are you from?
From Russia.
We want to go to Russia.
You want to go to Russia?
Yes, I do.
Why?
I've heard a lot about it.
Tell me again, what do you know about Russia?
Russia is big. It's cold there, and the girls are top-notch. The alcohol there is first class. I wouldn't lie about that.
How do you live here in Lesotho?
You know, there are its own challenges and difficulties here because most things are imported from over there.
From South Africa.
Yes, both from South Africa and from abroad. When problems arise there, it affects us too. First of all, it affects transportation. Most importantly, we have no fuel. We don't produce it, we only buy it. Therefore, when you guys over there have trouble, we face difficulties too. Because imports are the most crucial thing. We rely on this fuel. We rely on this oil. Importing becomes very slow and very expensive for us. It would be a shock to other people why we have so many problems with water, even though we have so much of it. I think it's because of the agreement that was made with South Africa. That is the biggest problem for us. I can tell you one thing, we are landlocked. We cannot do everything we want as often and in such volume as we need. Because, firstly, when crossing the border, we don't have the freedom we would like to have. And secondly, we have no access to ports, seas, and oceans. These might seem like minor difficulties, but when you look at the whole picture, you realize that these things greatly affect our lives. But right now, as we say, for changes to happen, it's not just about one person. Changes are everywhere. They concern everything.
That was the voice of the streets. The people here are incredibly welcoming. You can walk around with a camera freely and feel completely safe. No one is growling at you, yelling, or extorting money. Everyone is so positive and relaxed. Honestly, this must be one of the most peaceful, pleasant, safe, and comfortable countries in Africa. It's so cool here. Come visit Lesotho, guys. Enjoy the beautiful landscapes. Get a bit of understanding as to why people here live so poorly and why there are so many problems. It is a very interesting country to explore. Great culture. Everyone is stylish, kind, and open, despite the absolute horror they live in. A few weeks before my arrival in Lesotho, the capital of the country was enveloped in smoke from a burning landfill. Lesotho has huge garbage problems. Only 20% of waste is centralistically removed somewhere. 80% of the time, people just dump it in the city in piles behind their houses or somewhere else. And what do you do with the trash then? They set it on fire, yes. There is nothing even close to a proper system of separate collection, recycling, or smart disposal here. Behind me is the main landfill of the city. Believe me, it's quite big. Remarkably, it is located on a hill. And then the guys wonder why the water is contaminated. Because down there is a reservoir. And up here, they couldn't think of anything better than placing a giant landfill where absolutely all waste goes to, plastic and everything else. But the saddest part of what happens here is that these landfills sometimes burn. They just set the trash on fire when there gets to be too much of it. This landfill caught fire once again, and the fire was quite serious. They even had to evacuate residents from neighboring areas. 50,000 people were evacuated, and the landfill was pretty hard to put put out. Well, now everything just continues. Trash is brought here, someone is digging through it, and nothing changes. They say that they wanted to move this landfill back in 2023, but they didn't. What does Lesotho live on? I talked about the country's problems with Mathusi, an employee of a local legal center. His organization tries, as much as it can, to solve the main local issues, from access to drinking water to labor migration. In a certain way, Mathusi is a local legend in Lesotho.
Oh yes, it is a very big threat. You know, landfills are located right here in Maseru. And the residents of the areas around these landfills complain about health problems. They are fighting to remove these landfills from the neighborhood, but there are certain difficulties that the residents face.
Look at that! Children playing all around, residential houses, stunning views. Just so you understand, there are simply incredible mountains, hills, and greenery here. And right here is the main landfill of the city, which offers, you could say, a luxurious view of the capital of Lesotho. Wow, you're just walking along and here is someone's little house, and inside stands a stunning golden throne.
Is that a camera?
Yes.
Are you filming that side?
Yes.
But why?
Why not? Is it forbidden?
If you are filming over there, that side, if you are filming yourself, then no problem.
Okay, I'm filming myself.
Yourself?
Yes.
Good.
In Lesotho, a third of the population has no access to safe drinking water. This is one of the key problems in the country. And this landfill is located on a mountain. This means it is likely poisoning the water that flows into the capital and that the residents drink. But it's easier to hide the problem than to solve it. A guy came up and said, well, film yourself, but don't film anything else. The folks here aren't very happy apparently with what's going on with this landfill. Well, yeah, okay. To be honest, I don't understand how anyone could place this landfill right here on the hill, but okay. Then they wonder why their water is dirty. The capital is a storefront. Maseru showed me how the state wants to see itself. But even here, it's not hard to find what the locals want to hide from foreigners. And the truly real life of Lesotho is not here, but in the villages. Therefore, I am leaving Maseru to go deep into the country. What catches the eye of many travelers here? It's the large number of children on the streets. Lesotho is indeed a very young country, like most countries in Africa. Every third resident here is under 15 years old. Almost 800,000 children out of 2.3 million people. Look at what a stunning toy this child has. What is it made of? But it's just amazing. Holy cow, incredible. These are bison, wow. And this is a truck. Okay, and what do you have? The road roller, and this is a dump truck. Do you have internet? Do you know what TikTok is?
They say they know about Facebook and TikTok, but they don't have them.
You don't have phones? Do you have cell phones?
No.
No?
No. No.
And how do you spend your free time after school?
They play football. They also mold clay.
And what do they do with these figures later?
These are toys.
Ah, these are toys. They play with them, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Can you ask if they go to school?
Yes, everyone goes to school except that boy in the back.
And what do you dream about?
A soldier.
He wants to be a soldier.
Who?
And a police officer.
A soldier?
A police officer.
A police officer?
And a teacher.
A teacher?
No, a police officer. And me too.
So a police officer, a soldier, a police officer, and a teacher. Okay, that's interesting. And why do you want to become a teacher?
He wants to teach others.
And why not a police officer?
He doesn't want to shoot and kill people.
And look at how they play. Here are their figures. I arrived in the village. It's a regular rural community not far from the capital, and life here goes on just as before. Shepherds herd livestock, women cook, kids play, everything is standard. And here, not far underground, runs the water main from the Metolong Dam. These are pipes through which purified water is directed to Maseru and other cities. People here are periodically promised that once the project is launched, the water will reach these villages too. But when the water started flowing through the pipes, it bypassed the village. The route passes through the fields and along the houses, and many homes never received water. The residents began to fight for the water themselves. They stated that if they don't give us water, nobody gets it. They even threatened to shut off the pipe. After all, they need to get water somewhere for drinking, washing, and livestock. Some families continue to use open sources and often wells with dirty water. And right nearby runs the pipe through which clean water flows to the capital.
As the country,
Some challenges in terms of supply, or rather, access to clean water across the territory. Despite the fact that we have a large water supply project, the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, we have more than enough water in our country. However, the difficulty lies in how to provide the people with this water.
Fresh water in Lesotho is a very important export commodity. And one of the main reservoirs for export water is the Katse Dam, a wall 185 meters high, holding about 2 billion cubic meters of water. This is one of the largest mountain dams in Africa, as well as the hallmark and pride of Lesotho. Here is what you need to understand. Almost all the water from the country's largest dam does not stay in Lesotho. It flows through underground tunnels, kilometers of mountain passes, and goes to South Africa, into the Vaal River Basin, and further on to Johannesburg. Lesotho receives about $200 million a year for this water. This is roughly 10% of the country's state budget. But there is a paradox. The Katse Dam is located in the mountains, in the center of the country. Yet the people who live nearby in the villages below drink from streams contaminated with E. coli. The dam literally cut off the residents of the lower villages from water sources. It simply doesn't reach the people. Thus, the country sells water abroad and gets money, while the people living by the reservoir are left without access to clean water. Smaller dams are supposed to solve this problem, like the one located nearby here. They don't allow filming it, so we had to drive away a bit. It is called Metolong. It was built as a people's dam to supply purified water to the capital Maseru and the lowland cities and villages around it. The Metolong Dam is a reservoir with a volume of about 64 million cubic meters of water. Construction began in 2013 and was completed in 2015. Water from here goes through 100 kilometers of pipes to a water treatment plant and then to the cities and villages of the lowlands. The entire project was valued at approximately $430 million. It was funded by the World Bank, donors from Europe, South Africa, the Middle East, and the government of Lesotho. On paper, this system was supposed to solve the water problem for hundreds of thousands of people. In practice, everything is more complicated. The networks don't always keep up with the growth of new neighborhoods. In some places, the pipes deteriorate and leak. In some areas, water is not supplied around the clock. And people in those villages that were never connected to the main pipes continue to go for water to pumps, springs, and streams. But for some families, the price of access to fresh water turned out to be too high. The construction of the dam affected about 2,700 families. Some lost arable fields and pastures, while others lost access to water sources. In general, the construction brought many problems. It's all because this project was not originally designed for the population living in rural areas. Rather, it was created for supplies to Maseru, industrial zones, as well as urban areas. According to official data, more than 2.5 thousand households received compensation. But as is often the case in other parts of the world, it was clearly insufficient. Legal disputes over fair compensation are still ongoing, and for many displaced people, the promised compensation never arrived at all. In Lesotho, water is everywhere. Rivers, streams, reservoirs. But almost no one has clean water. Only every third person in the country has access to clean, safe drinking water. In 2019, scientists from the National University of Lesotho tested the water in 30 rural sources in the Metolong River Basin. Well, they found E. coli in all of them. In protected sources, they found several thousand bacteria per 100 milliliters of water, and in open ones, several million. This is despite the fact that the standard for drinking water is 0. Why? In the villages, 59% of households have an outdoor toilet. Cesspools are right next to the water, and livestock drink from the same sources. Plus, there is diamond mining. On top of that, textile factories dump nitrates and other pollutants. In some places, the water in Lesotho is officially recognized as unfit even for animals. And this is the house of the village chief. The house is relatively decent. He even has a little vineyard.
It's too expensive.
As I understand, you are the boss here.
I am not the boss. I am a leader.
And what is the difference?
The difference is that a boss is someone who stands above everyone else, while a leader is a person who works with the population and helps people.
What are the biggest problems in your village?
The most common problem here is water, also roads, unemployment, and the fact that some of our children do not go to school. This is all because people don't have the money to pay for higher education. For example, to go to a university or a college.
And what happened to the water?
We have no water. We only have water when it rains.
Why don't you dig wells for water?
We do have them, but I think we have less water underground. What do we want now? We want water from the Wasco Water Utility Company because each of us will be able to pay the bills. That is what we want. We have already approached the government many times, but we are still here, without water.
In Lesotho, making a well is not always easy. More than half of the country stands on basalt, a volcanic rock that you cannot dig with a shovel. On the hardness scale, basalt is almost like granite. To reach water, a drilling rig is needed. And even if you somehow drag it to a mountain village over ruined roads, the result is not guaranteed. In 2005, out of 818 wells drilled in Lesotho, only 12% yielded enough water. And the average drilling depth was 65 meters. In all the news, they write that they have problems with water. If you read the news, they write that a dam was built here. Now there isn't enough water and there are huge problems with water. But when you find yourself in a village, it doesn't look at all like there are problems. There is a river here. Everything is green. The gardens are watered and livestock are grazing on these green lawns. In other words, everything seems quite fine. I think people don't collect water.
Some people have a car to drive to the other side for water. Others don't have cars. You can see from this side.
Here they collect water. However, in that house you see, there is nothing.
They say they have no access. They cut us off.
Here is a house, right? And there isn't a single device to collect water at all. Although making these gutters and putting up a barrel cost next to nothing. This is the only house where they are collecting something over there. The guy set up a barrel and they have at least something being collected there. And here, the old man here says that he collects rainwater. Here he has a basin and a barrel. Well, you can see it here, yes. Something has been collected, but the rest don't do anything. The most surprising thing is that even if you imagine there is some serious problem with water, they don't even collect rainwater. For example, in Russia, in any village, people collect rainwater. They set up these barrels, water flows from the roof and gets collected. You can see this house here, and you can see that all the water from the roof just drains onto the ground. There are no gutters, nothing, no downspouts. Opposite is another house. It is apparently wealthier, more affluent. There are downspouts there, but they reach the ground, and all the water drains onto the earth. That is, they don't even collect rainwater. They just sit and tell you that they have problems with water. There is no water, and someone has to bring this water to them. It all looks very, very strange. And now we have arrived at the school. The kids are all adorable here. Now let's try to talk, apparently, with the teacher. In Lesotho, there are 7 grades of primary school for children from 6 to 12 years old. Since 2010, it has been free and compulsory. But parents have to pay for uniforms, textbooks, and other related items. As a result, in Lesotho, only 71% of children finish primary school. For comparison, in neighboring South Africa, it is 92%, and the global average is 88%. The reasons are different for boys and girls. Boys are usually taken away to herd cattle and help the family. Girls are often stopped by pregnancy or early marriage. The state tries to keep children in school with a hot lunch program. This helps, but it doesn't completely solve the problem.
This is our school. These classrooms are for the 5th, 6th, and 7th grades. We lock up the chairs and desks, as you can see, but they are locked because their owners have gone home.
And who built this school?
The church.
The church?
Yes.
Right, it's a computer class? Now this looks much better.
The government built these classrooms in 2018, these 2 classrooms. This room is used both as a classroom and as a computer room. We have here, how many computers do we have? 2, 4, 6, 12.
Well, again, look at this total mess here. I mean, everything is dusty and all that, and you can see that for some reason they don't clean here. Maybe these are some local cultural characteristics. I don't know. I compare it with what I had in my childhood. We had wet cleaning done there every single day. That is, there were some chore duties or something. I mean, the kids cleaned, the janitors cleaned. Those classrooms were constantly being scrubbed clean. Here, there is a computer sitting, while on the floor, it's just frankly filthy. And it's not even like the dirt was just tracked in recently. You can clearly see that it hasn't been cleaned for weeks. Everything is dusty. Everything is dirty. A bunch of random papers are lying around. Everything is piled up. I mean, these are things that you can't just blame on we don't have money. A pile of old waste paper is just lying around. And right here, someone literally took a crap in the corner. Someone apparently didn't want to use the toilet. In general, it's unclear what is even being studied here. Perhaps it's all just for show. Do you have internet here?
Yes, these are classrooms built by the government.
These classrooms that were built for them, partly by the church, partly by the government. But again, everything here is kept in such a state that you can't even tell if it's abandoned or not because some textbooks are just lying around. Whose backpack is this lying here, for example? Why does the classroom look so dirty? Backpacks, some old clothes on the floor.
I think it's because we use this room for different subjects. The children ran home very early because of the bad weather.
Ah, I see. They just escaped from this horror.
Usually they sweep after school. They usually clean up because this is a room for different subjects. But since there were no other teachers, we let them go early.
What can I say? It's just a total mess in the classrooms. Yes, she put it quite softly, saying that the children quickly cleared out somewhere because of the bad weather and that they were supposed to clean but didn't. But let's be honest, this mess didn't appear here yesterday. I mean, it really looks like no one ever cleans here. And when you walk into some of these classrooms, if they hadn't told me that this is an active school and that the children had just left it, it looks as if this school has been abandoned for a couple of years.
Это
Are
палки
these
для
sticks for
порки?
spanking?
No,
Нет?
No?
these are for counting. So no,
Нет?
No?
Это
It's illegal.
нелегально.
Нелегально?
Мы их не
we don't use
используем.
them.
Вот
That's
поэтому
why
тут
it's
так
so
грязно.
dirty
Нужно
here.
этим
You need to
пользоваться.
use them.
No, no.
Нет,
Ты
нет.
забыл
You
свой
forgot your
рюкзак.
backpack.
Есть
Bam.
причина,
There is a reason why we
почему мы
will
от
never use
этого
this,
уже
because of better
отказались.
conditions
Из-за
we have
более
now.
хороших условий.
Okay, so just so you know, that was a joke. You should never beat children. There's some rods lying here. Maybe they lied to me and they actually do use them on the children. But we'll take their word for it. Let's hope not. And in this classroom, they study computers. A computer, a keyboard, a printer, a mouse pad. Cool. Once again, the level of mess here is just mind-blowing. All the corners, everything is piled up, some wrappers, cobwebs, and whatnot. I mean, they have never washed the floor here.
This is another classroom that we use for the 6th graders. Over there is the 5th grade room, and this one is for the 6th grade. And the next classroom we will look at is for the 7th grade.
Well, it's the exact same situation. Some bottles are standing around. Here, some kind of structure is propping up the window. What? But that's beer.
Oh, I have no idea. But yes, it's beer. We collect them. Kids collect them to make decorations. They recycle them like that. They create crafts.
You sure they don't drink beer?
No, they don't drink beer. These are small kids.
Well, I don't know. What if?
They are too small to drink alcohol at 10 years old. They use the cans when making decorations, when creating handmade crafts. They don't drink.
We wanted to catch the kids who are already sitting around drinking beer here, but no, it didn't work out. They use the cans for crafts. Why don't you fix this?
We don't have enough money for this. We tried. As you can see, we tried. But the tap was broken anyway. That's it, the tap is broken. It's impossible to use it.
Well, in short, a typical story, friends. She says the tap broke, and that's it. There's no point in collecting water anymore. And buying a new tap or fixing it somehow looks impossible. Right. Once again, it's a very typical story. Someone set up this green barrel for them so they could collect rainwater. Their tap broke, and she says, well, the tap broke, so what can you do now? We'll just sit and wait for a miracle. They built such a nice toilet. One for the girls, one for the boys. There is water.
This is rainwater.
Yes, okay. Again, look at this. A toilet that is flooded. It is flooded for one simple reason, because they didn't think through how the water would drain out of here. Therefore, at the slightest rain, everything here gets flooded. How the children go to the toilet is a mystery. Well, somehow they just walk through this water.
This one is for the girls.
Everything stinks. The water doesn't leave from here, it simply has nowhere to go. Cutting a hole here would take, I don't know, a minute. Just take a tool and punch a hole here so the water simply drains away. But no one cares. Everyone is just sitting around. Look at the youth over there. They should be given a task to ode that.
And that one over there is for the teachers. and this one is for the boys.
Well, they thought it through for the boys. Since the boys have a urinal like this and the boys' toilet, they figured it out. And of course, in the best traditions of class segregation, the teachers have their own separate toilet. Let's take a look. Wow. Indeed, it looks much better.
Yes.
In general, it's some kind of strange situation with some elementary things. That is, in some places you can blame it on the fact that you really have no money, no technology, that it's very difficult. But some totally basic things, like just collecting rainwater. Listen, people have been collecting rainwater for centuries. I remember my entire childhood when I lived out in the countryside. There weren't even any wells or water pipes in sight. Nothing. Either you collected rainwater and then cooked and did everything else with it, or you brought this water from somewhere, filled it up from some water pump, and then transported it, dragging it on some wheelbarrows. I remember dragging water on a wheelbarrow. But if it was for watering the garden, you also just went to some pond or a river and dragged water from there too. It was no problem at all. People made themselves some barrels, stored it, and collected water through gutters. I mean, you can go to any normal Russian village, and this issue is somehow solved. No one is waiting. People have learned how to live with this. Total indifference. Someone put a barrel here for them and said, guys, collect rainwater. Their tap broke, and instead of fixing the tap, everyone just sits around. Absolutely nobody does a damn thing. Everyone just says, well, everything is bad for us. It's sad. Help us. Save us. They made a toilet, but there is no door. The teachers have doors, the girls don't. Putting up this plywood door just to have at least some privacy also seems like a piece of cake.
We have neither a kitchen nor an office. When it rains, we use this place to cook inside.
This is the kitchen they use during the rain because it is under a tent.
As you can see, it is not very safe.
Yes, I see.
Therefore, we try not to use this room. It's just not safe.
It's evening. The school children have left and the people have gathered. Nobody is doing anything. The teacher is complaining that there are no steps and the kids fall. Can a fence be made or not? I mean, the people are just sitting there. Everyone is doing fine. This looks like the source.
Here is where we collect water. This is the communal water supply system. Sometimes there is no water at all, because it is released to another part of the village. Usually we can use it together, but sometimes when they need water, they close the tap and we have no water. This is all from the communal water supply network.
And is this your garden? Do you grow vegetables here?
Yes, we bring seeds from home.
I mean, is this the school's property? Is it school garden?
Yes, it's a school garden, but it is very small because we bring the seeds ourselves. And the problem is that animals from the village trample and eat everything. So right now, everything looks like this.
If it's not a secret, what is your salary?
Approximately 14,000. That is before all deductions. Additional deductions are taken from me. But before those deductions, I receive about 14,000.
Is this enough to make a living in the village?
No, it's not enough. It's not enough to cover all my needs. I am a teacher. I have a bachelor's degree obtained here in Lesotho.
In general, this story is actually very characteristic of many countries. And I would really hate for this video to be perceived now from the standpoint of, oh, you came here acting so smart, and instead of helping, as I know some people sometimes write in the comments, that instead of helping, you start lecturing, acting smart, and criticizing. Listen, I judge from my own experience. I grew up in a completely ordinary family, went to a regular school, and listen, I remember since childhood how all these problems were solved. We cleaned the school ourselves. We had clean classrooms there. It's hard for me to imagine that in the school where I studied, and it wasn't some super elite lyceum, it was a regular school in Moscow, but it was hard for me to imagine having this kind of total mess. Order was everywhere. I mean, you just elementarily need to do some cleaning. It's hard for me to imagine what the problem is with putting things in order here with the toilet, or what the problem is with collecting water. They all say, we have a water problem. We have a water problem. We don't know what to do. But once again, this tank has already been delivered to their school. You just need to simply maintain it, operate it somehow, and keep it in order. Our tap broke. We can't do anything else. That's it. Now we won't have water. This gutter that collects water is all crooked and sideways. Just get a couple of students to tie it up and fix it. I don't know, treat it like a practical assignment for shop class. You have to teach children something from childhood so that they at least do something. But no. Everyone just sits around, everything is fine. In the gardens, everything is overgrown. The roads are ruined. Some basic everyday issues are not being solved. But nobody cares. Everyone is just vibing, sitting under the sun, and that's it. No, you can't break out of poverty that way. After all, no pain, no gain. Lesotho is a very unusual country, even by African standards. It is surrounded on all sides by South Africa, and Lesotho simply has no borders with other countries. There are only two other such countries in the world, the Vatican and San Marino. At the beginning of the 19th century, there was no single state on the territory of present-day South Africa and Lesotho. Several forces fought among themselves for the land. European settlers, the British, and the Boers, the descendants of the first colonizers of southern Africa. Besides them, local tribes also waged wars. For example, the Zulu tribe under the leadership of Shaka Zulu. He was creating an empire, conquering neighboring African nations. Those defeated by the tribes either submitted or fled, creating waves of migration. And while Shaka expanded his empire through conquest and subjugation, Moshoeshoe, the leader of the tribes on the territory of present-day Lesotho, chose a different strategy. He offered refuge to those fleeing wars and conflicts, and led them here, to the mountain-protected fortress of Thaba, Bosiu. He gave them land, food, and protection, regardless of the refugees' origins. There are many legends about Moshoeshoe's generosity, and here is one of them. When the chief was leading his people to the fortress of Thaba, Bosiu, hungry refugees attacked his companions. The king's grandfather didn't have the strength to run away. He was caught and killed and eaten. Moshoeshoe's subjects demanded revenge, but he told the cannibals, "You are the grave of my ancestors." And he gave them cattle, land, and a place in his kingdom. It's like turn the other cheek, but African style. Around his mountain fortresses, refugees, exiles, the hungry, and those who had nowhere else to go began to gather. Yesterday's enemies became subjects. Out of scattered communities, out of enemies and refugees, the kingdom of Lesotho was born. In fact, the history of the small African country of Lesotho is a textbook example of successful maneuvering between larger countries. In the late 1830s, the Boers set their sights on the fertile lands of present-day Lesotho. These were the descendants of the first European settlers in southern Africa. They went to war against the local Basotho tribe. This time, the mountains did not save them. Then King Moshoeshoe went for help to the enemies of the Boers, the British. They didn't really like the Boers because the Boers occupied fertile, rich lands to the northeast of modern Cape Town. And in general, the colony was British, but the Boers lived their own free life and preferred not to share anything with the British. And when the Boers themselves went to war against the Basotho tribes, Moshoeshoe placed himself under a British protectorate. Effectively, he gave up sovereignty to avoid enslavement. 3 years later, Britain annexed Basotho land to the Cape Colony, effectively to the future South Africa. And it seemed the country of Lesotho was doomed to disappear. But in 1880, a rebellion broke out. The Cape Colony decided to disarm the Basotho, to take away their guns and horses. But no such luck. The Basotho took up arms and defeated the colonial troops of Great Britain, a major rarity for that era. The British were forced to sign a peace treaty. In 1884, Basotho land became a separate territory. And when the Union of South Africa was created in 1910, Britain refused to include Lesotho in it. As a result, there is this strange, small country on the world map surrounded by South Africa. Look, people are all so stylish here. Those plaid pants, white boots with red soles, and a blue jacket with those pins, very cool. Just crazy. Here in Lesotho, there are a lot of people in blankets. This doesn't mean the person just got out of bed. A blanket here is an item of traditional Basotho clothing. It all started in 1860. King Moshoeshoe received a woolen blanket as a gift from a British man. He liked it, so he gave up his leopard skin cloak and started wearing the blanket. His subjects followed his example. In 1876, the king ordered a special production of branded blankets from a British textile manufacturer. That is how the first Basotho blankets appeared. I mean, this is a rare case where national clothing was brought to an African country from the metropolis. Plus, the wool was perfect for the local climate. It keeps you warm in the cold mountain regions of Lesotho. And in 2017, the House of Louis Vuitton even released a collection featuring patterns from Basotho blankets. A shirt with this print cost about $2,500. Meanwhile, an original Basotho blanket can be bought at the Maseru market for $25, 100 times cheaper. Some designers from South Africa and Lesotho spoke out against the collection. South African designer Maria McCloy called it theft. because the Basotho were not involved in the work and they did not receive a share of the sales. Lesotho designer Thaba Maketa and others said that Louis Vuitton should have at least collaborated with local manufacturers and the Basotho community and strictly credited the source of inspiration. In the press, this was discussed as an example of cultural appropriation, but the company itself barely responded publicly to the claims. In 2018, the movie Black Panther showed characters in Lesotho blankets. Even though this is not some ancient, authentic type of clothing, but an item originating from Europe. Thanks to superheroes, Basotho blankets appeared on screens around the world. In Black Panther, the warriors of the fictional African country of Wakanda wear exactly them. How did that happen? While preparing for filming and scouting locations, director Ryan Coogler went to Lesotho to look for inspiration. And what a stroke of luck. He saw how the local men wear blankets and decided to turn them into combat gear. According to the movie's plot, the blanket is woven with vibranium, a metal with supernatural properties.
Here we have a border tribe. This is an elder. He is wearing a cloak with a heart-shaped pattern in the Lesotho style, and he is also dressed in a traditional Lesotho blanket.
Blanket sales surged after the premiere. The world learned about Lesotho thanks to a superhero blockbuster.
If you don't have a blanket, what does it mean? When you go to a funeral, you put on a blanket. It's part of the Basotho tradition. If you come to a funeral or any traditional event without a blanket, it raises questions. Then, what values do you even hold if you don't respect your own traditions?
Do you have a blanket?
I have many.
Many?
Yes.
And why are you without a blanket right now?
Because it all depends on the event. You don't just wear it for no reason. You put on a blanket depending on what event you are going to.
But you shouldn't expect every resident of Lesotho to wear a traditional blanket with patterns that mean something, or that everyone will be able to explain the meaning of those patterns. Can you explain what this pattern on your blanket means?
This is not a traditional blank. It doesn't symbolize anything. There are ones that mean something, but not this one.
On these streets, besides people in beautiful blankets, I also met a living legend of the local rap scene.
He has internet.
Is this you? Do you live here in this village?
No, in the neighboring one.
And you create music?
Yes.
Do you make money from your music somehow? Do you sell it?
I registered on Spotify, but I only made about $3 to $4.
And how do you make a living?
I play at events.
Imagine if you had the opportunity to improve something. If you had $1 million, what would you do with it?
I would develop young kids who have talent but no opportunities. I would support them to help discover their talents.
It seems that Lesotho paid a very high price for its independence. Although South Africa is not the richest country in the world, it is still much higher than Lesotho in all global economic ratings. In both countries, more than half of the population lives below the poverty line. But poverty means completely different things. In South Africa, the poverty line is 1,109 rands, or $62 a month. In Lesotho, it is 648 maloti, or $36. The GDP per capita in South Africa is 6 times higher than in Lesotho. In Lesotho, people live to an average of 55 years, while in South Africa, it's up to 64. In short, Lesotho would probably have been better off as part of South Africa. But the country chose the path of independence. In 1966, Lesotho lost its status as a protectorate of the British Empire, a constitutional monarchy, parliament, democracy. What more could one dream of? But just 4 years later, everything collapsed. In 1970, the ruling party lost the elections. The prime minister simply annulled the results, arrested the opposition, and suspended the constitution. Democracy was over. The era of coups began in 1986 and ended only in 2014. Lesotho had 5 coups in 50 years of independence. The country is in a state of constant political fever. In 22, a new prime minister, Sam Matekane, came to power, a businessman who created his party just a few months before the elections and won. Whether he will remain in power for long is a question, but the problems remain. 49.7% of the population lives below the poverty line. The country is heavily dependent on South Africa, and the average life expectancy is one of the lowest in the world. There is no tomorrow. After a fire at another landfill, the capital won't start blazing again. this time from riots. South Africa has a huge number of problems too, but they clearly don't have this. There are two opposing territorial movements in Lesotho's political life. The first demands the revival of the Free State, about 130,000 square kilometers of land that the Basotho lost in the wars of the 19th century. The second movement, the Free Basotho movement, demands joining South Africa as its 10th province. Both scenarios are difficult to implement. After decolonization, African states agreed in 1964 to recognize the borders that existed at the time of independence. This principle is not an absolute ban, but it makes any territorial changes in Africa complicated and politically dangerous, even when it comes to referendums or historical claims.
Personally, I believe in economic integration. I believe we need to abandon passports and borders. The economies of South Africa and Lesotho, as you rightly pointed out, are closely linked. We are heavily dependent on manufacturing and many other sectors. Therefore, we need to think about how to integrate our economy with the South African one. It seems to me that this is exactly how it can work, and at the same time, the need for borders will disappear.
I arrived in Haramahaba, another village near the capital of Lesotho. It gets its water from the very same dam, Metolong. The population here is about 200 people. People work in the fields and raise animals. Its residents also filed lawsuits against the government through the legal center, complaining that they cannot take water from the reservoir. You can't just come here. You must definitely ask permission from the village chief. Now we're going to ask if we can do some filming here.
Okay, he really wants to talk to you.
Are there problems here?
Animals fall into the dam. Children fall into the dam. We have a new species of bird that destroys crops. But the problem is also that we don't have access to water from the reservoir because the government didn't plan for us to have access.
So you cannot take water from this reservoir.
The state was supposed to install water pipes for us. And collecting water directly from there is dangerous because you can fall.
As far as I know, some people lost their land because of this dam. Did you face this problem? If so, did you receive any compensation?
Yes, we used to have fields there. We also had natural resources, a forest. We kept animals there because it was safer. And now, all of that is underwater, but we were paid a lump sum compensation.
All right, well, here it is, a real Lesotho village. Wide open spaces, towers, cacti, gorgeous mountains on the horizon. So beautiful. They had these traditional roundhouses here. How do you see Lesotho in 20 years in the future?
We will still be living in poverty. Because those who have power only think about themselves. Not about the poor people who live here, at the bottom.
But you have elections. You can vote for any other party.
Even if we vote for a good person, when he comes to power, he forgets about us.
And why don't you try? Why not?
You know what the problems are. You know what needs to be done. The problem is that chiefs are forbidden to participate in political parties. They are not allowed to be part of party politics.
What do you dream about?
Dreams regarding this village?
Yes.
I dream that there will be water here and good roads, so that all children, without exception, go to school. So that they have no obstacles to either studying or working. If they have jobs, we will stop being poor. We won't be poor because they will have work and they will have food.
If you could make one decision to improve the situation in the country, what would you do?
In fact, one decision is not enough.
For example, change the government.
We have already been through that. There were times when we considered the government ineffective and changed it. But the new government also completely failed its promises. Therefore, in my opinion, it is important to strengthen oversight institutions. They need to be given enough resources so they can do their jobs properly. Otherwise, Parliament, as an oversight body, turns out to be weakened and does not perform its functions as it should. But if other oversight and democratic institutions can work independently and are provided with resources, I think that can really change the situation.
I think that can take us up.
Well, friends, Lesotho truly is an amazing country. It fought so fiercely and successfully for its own independence, but now it finds itself completely dependent on its big neighbor. And that's at the level of basic needs. Water flows away from the local residents to South Africa, and many are forced to drink some dirt from under their feet. The locals themselves are also leaving for South Africa because it is hard to make a living in Lesotho. At the same time, the country is trying to preserve its own identity, cultural traditions, and beliefs. But the question is it worth paying such a price for one's own independence? Let's debate this in the comments. Write what you think about Lesotho and how people live here. Don't forget to leave a like, and of course, check your subscription to this channel. It is very important for me to know that you like my content so that I can keep filming for you. See you next time!